people in this group, they're really convincing themselves that they're going to be alone for the rest of their lives, and they're really convincing themselves that that would be terrible to be like not romantically involved, and they're really just settling for literally anyone that will pay them any attention. It's spooking me out. It's really spooking me out. I'm not gonna lie, it's really fucking scary how easily so many people are willing to settle because they're just afraid of being alone.
And this happens not even with that particular situation. When people break up, sometimes they tend to go and run to another relationship pretty fast. So people have encountered like other people while dating that, hey, I just recently got out of a relationship, and they're already on a dating app. They're really like inviting you to go out, and you're like, wait a minute. Aren't you trying to heal something or just to spend time with yourself? Some people don't know how to be alone, and that's an issue. So as my friend here says, that she doesn't know me, by the way, Lila Hope, that is actually Lily A. Hope on Instagram, she has a point that people sometimes are afraid to be alone, but not even for setting down. It is also, they don't know how to be with themselves in their own room for a couple of months. And that's terrifying, because if you don't like yourself, being with yourself for a certain amount of time, that is yourself, your brain, your inner self is screaming something to you, like shouting to you, like telling you, hey, there is something wrong. You need to take care of this, you know? Sometimes I got into a point that I don't need to be with someone to be feeling great with myself, just being with myself around. So when I am with someone, it's because I'm enjoying the company and everything else, but I also enjoy being with myself. So finding the joy to be just with your own on a particular self, being happy with yourself, feeling in peace with yourself, that is something people are lacking of, and a lot. And I found this book that is really interesting. It's called Advanced Social Psychology, The State of Science by Ellie Finkel and Roy. If humans evolved from great apes, why are human cells so much more elaborate than those of apes? And that question, it's like at the very beginning, and I love it because you're right. We didn't start going on into this earth, walking around being so complex of ourselves. We didn't think much about having great mental health, our conception of who we are, but in this modern environment we're facing right now, where we have time to research in ourselves more than ever. So yeah, why are human cells so much more elaborate than those of apes? To answer this question is to address the question of what self essentially is. The self is not a part of the brain, nor is it an illusion, nor is there a true self hidden in some magical world or realm. Rather, the self is an essential part of the interface between the animal body and the social system. Human social systems, including culture and civilization, are vastly more complex than the social systems of other great apes. That's right. They present more opportunities and more challenges. The human self has to have capabilities and properties to enable it to deal with this. As a simple example, consider your name. Your name is not a part of your brain, though your brain has to be able to know and use the name. The name is given to you by others. It locates you in the social system. Imagine trying to live in your town without a name. Your name refers to your body, but evokes much more, such as group memberships, bank accounts, transcripts, and resumes. It links you to a family, and some people even change their names when they change families by marrying. Your name tells people how they treat you. Most animals get what they need from the physical environment. Humans get it from each other, that is, from their social system. The functions of the self thus include helping the animal self negotiate the social world to get what it needs. Social needs are also prominent in human behavior, and the self is, if anything, more important for satisfying them than for satisfying physical needs. The first job of the self is thus to garner social acceptance. Beyond that, the self works to secure and improve its position in the social group. We need to advance. It keeps track of information about itself, works to improve how it is regarded by others, identifies itself with important relationships and roles, and makes choices. And most of them are social. If the self exists as the animal culture interface, then vastly different cultures would likely produce different versions of selfhood. There is some evidence that this is true. The most cultural difference in selfhood describes modern Western self as emphasizing independence, whereas East Asian selfhood features interdependence. And that is something that I wanted to pull out because this type of thing, I remember I initiated with a video about not being able to be with yourself. Well, what is the self itself? And this sounds like some kind of tongue twister, but it is not. So we try to be in other people's selves, spaces, ecosystems. But what about ours? We don't even comprehend our own self in full. So what can we expect from others? It is now like it brings some kind of sense that some people don't even know how to be with their own self because they don't even know what their own self consists about, right? Being with yourself means understanding all of this, and this is just like the peak of the iceberg. Are we ready to have this conversation, but from one-on-one? Are we ready just to have it with your own self? I don't know, but I think first we need to comprehend who we are in order to be with another. So what is the self? In the middle 1990s, faced with the task of producing an integrative overview of research of the self, I searched long and hard for a single core phenomenon or basic root of selfhood, one that could serve as a useful framework for discussing all the work social psychologists had done. I failed. Instead, I reluctantly concluded that at least three important types of phenomena provided three basic roots of selfhood. This conceptual structure seems still viable and will be organizational. It will be the organizational basis for this chapter. The first basis of selfhood is consciousness, turning around towards itself, which is something called reflexive consciousness. You can be aware of yourself and know things about yourself, and that is important. The second basis of selfhood is in interpersonal relations. The self does not emerge from inside the person, but rather is formed in interactions and relationships with other people. Moreover, the self functions to create and sustain relationships, to fulfill important roles, and to keep a favored position in the social system. The third and final basis of selfhood is making choices and exerting control. You might take yourself and keep trying to shape something despite failure, frustration, and discouragement. You may resist temptation to be true to your diet, your wedding vows, or your religious beliefs. You decide what to major or where to live. You choose your goals and then work towards them, even when you might not feel like doing so. You borrow money and then pay it back. You make a promise to a friend and then keep it, and so forth. All this show the self at work, facing and making decisions, following through on previous commitments, and exerting control over itself. If you want me to continue with the book, I think I will continue with this book because I've been liking it so far. We can make an entire series because it is not a book just about the self, which is already interesting enough. It's a book about different aspects related to it, so we can have like a complex talk about this, and I love that. Do you feel the need to be with someone just because you don't like being alone? Have you been feeling uncomfortable just being by yourself after some month? I think COVID could be a great example. How did you feel? Were you like okay being just with yourself, being like surrounded by a lot of people? Because it could be also vice versa, different scenarios, you know? The contrary, I might say. Well, let me know. Do you feel good with your own, or do you feel the need of being with someone else? As I mentioned before, have a nice day, afternoon, evening. See you another time.